age today, where freedom lights the way. Fast, secure, and built to last, the strongest every day. From the seas to the farmlands, to the mountains capped with snow. Bitcoin Cash connects the world and helps our future grow. Yes, Bitcoin Cash connects us all and helps our future grow.
There will be no real non-controlled currency in the world.
We're coming for you, banks.
Increasing the block size to 32 megabytes right now. What would be the top 5 arguments that would get hurled against me?
Oh, that's a good one.
There are a few that the big blockers got right.
Ching, like all these coins splash into the wallets of all the winners. I love that.
There's a new threat out there. It's crypto.
Hello and welcome back to the Bitcoin Cash podcast. Following Bitcoin Cash on its rise to global reserve currency. This is episode number 137. Roger on Tucker and BCH Foundation featuring Cheap Lightning. Today is Saturday, the 14th of December. I even checked the date before, didn't I? I said I had it right. It's the 14th of December, not November, 2024. I'm your host, Jeremy. Jet is doing the producing, same as always. Let us quickly hit the price. BCH, $524 US dollars and 37 cents for 100 megasats, way down. One BTC sat buys 192.6 BCH sats down, so we've lost, given back some gains on the ratio there, and one ETH buys 736.4 megasats, so also given back some gains there. Our guest today, Cheap Lightning, is the Chief Sanitary Engineer, I believe, right? Official title.
Yes.
At the BCH Foundation, a pillar of the BCH community, a regular on the show. I believe either the first or probably second highest attending guest that we've had, and a contributor to all things BCH. People already know your backstory. They've heard it at least 2 times on the show before.
Good,
so let's just get straight into it. How are you feeling with BCH at the moment?
I'm happy, hyped. We're making insane progress. I feel the community is more aligned than ever. Infighting is at an all-time low. There's a few, technical disagreements about certain minutia about the way forward, but other than that, I feel everyone is just really on the same page, and we're all working towards the same thing, more or less, and it's fantastic. I'm really, really glad about it. And of course, we've had a bit of a price bump, which is very helpful to everyone who is a holder or a spender of BCH. So I'm feeling good.
Do you really think conflict is at an absolute all-time low? I was thinking about this because we're going to have the Christmas episode is the next one, right? Last one for the year. And I have to come up with, well, I don't have to, but I do come up with 3 storylines for the year.
Yep.
And so I thought one of them could potentially be that it has been the best year for BCH ever. I think post-fork, post-2017, this has got to be the best year of BCH that there ever has been. Do you agree?
I haven't given it a lot of thought, but on the surface, yeah, I think so. Yeah, the overall mood has been great. Obviously, there's still some whinging in the fringes about tiny little things, but in a decentralized system or even just a community of people, there's always going to be someone who complains about something. But as far as like major issues,
need someone to complain.
Of course. major issues or fighting or just constant cope or anything like that. I think we're in a absolutely fantastic position. So yeah, I think this probably has been the best year we've had, even though that hasn't been reflected 100% in the price. That's far outside of our control versus, sentiment and unity and et cetera, which is something that we do actually have some degree of control over. So yeah, I agree.
But what do you put that down to? Like, obviously, well, I don't know, the chip process is working well, upgrades are going smooth, good moderation in community channels, where price obviously going up a little bit never hurts. Is there any other subtle elements or things that you think we're doing right to really bring to everyone's attention and make sure, because when you're doing something wrong, you need to figure out what it is and get it right. And when you're doing something right, you need to remind yourself what it is so you don't forget. So, I mean, you have a lot of experience with this, honestly, in terms of community division. What specifically has changed that is going right at the moment?
It's really hard to say. I'm not sure if there's one single thing that has had the most influence or the strongest impact. I really don't know. I think, yeah, it's hard to say. I think, there are certainly people who have a desire to complain about everything all the time, and those people have been shown the door, right? Exclusion or shunning is basically how you get rid of elements of things that are counterproductive. And so, of course, like with a decentralized system, you can't prevent anyone from developing on BCH or whatever. But you can certainly encourage them to fuck off if they're constantly disrupting. And I don't want to mention any names, but we all know there's been certain people who just revel in disruption because they think they know what's best. And whether it's whether their vision is right or not, I don't know. But the way you deal with other people in the community certainly has some sort of consensus around it, right? If you're constantly complaining, people won't interact with you, and that doesn't mean that you get banned from a group or something. It just means that people will not engage with you. They will, do not engage is a great policy, and there are certainly elements of the community that used to get a lot of leeway, which I think probably has decreased. And there's been a number of people who, after years of trying to be heard, have given up on trying to force themselves into the conversation because they're not making any leeway. So that's certainly been a big part of it. But on the other side, I think people are just really happy and hyped about what we've been working on, what we can do, and cash tokens has been a boon for community development and projects, etc. So there's a lot to be happy and hyped about. And I've mentioned this a few times, but I think BCH was kind of born in the anti-core movement. And there was a very large percentage of the community before who were anti-core. That was their number one main thing. And they didn't really have like a pro-BCH thing other than it wasn't core. And that certainly has a place, but on the other hand, you do need people moving the thing forward who have a vision and a goal, something that they want to do and accomplish. And that is a much greater goal than anti-core. And I think a lot of those just anti-core people have also just left because, we're all tired of hearing the same thing since 2017, right? We were censored and yes, but we still have to, get up and put our pants on and go do stuff. So we're cracking on.
Yeah, I hope everybody is putting their pants on. They're doing the BCH forward movement. But seriously, on that point, because I think it's important to recognize, you could say, okay, well, maybe everything's stable just because we've kicked out, everyone. Well, not kicked out, but like you said, disincentivized, frozen out, whatever the term anybody who is being highly disruptive. Okay, but as things have started growing again, right, I haven't noticed any increase in tension so far. Now, partly that's because when you have a good thing, people join that and then adapt to that vibe, right? But I'm suspicious that at a certain point of growth, which I want to start preparing for now, we'll start attracting back some of those people who were salty about the past and whatever, because then they'll feel vindicated, even if they haven't been in the conversation for 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it is. And they'll all want to come back and say, see, BCH was right. I told you guys the whole time.
Sure.
And that will only be partly true. Like, it's true, but it's only been true because we've been able to get on a good path without being regressive, without having to, complain about the past and stuff like that. But people will come back to want to get their dunks in, even if they weren't really involved. How do we best prepare for or minimize the impact of that?
That's also a tough one. It depends on the motivation of people. I've heard from multiple people over time and over the years that they dislike BCH or didn't get involved in BCH because of two people, essentially, Craig and Roger, right? And of course, Craig got shown the door very quickly, and Roger has voluntarily stepped back. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But Roger is not nearly as involved, and he's certainly not the most vocal proponent of BCH in the world right now. And so for people who really disliked BCH based off of those two personalities, which in my opinion is kind of silly, because the protocol and et cetera, are not reliant upon single personalities. But I understand. I wouldn't want to get behind a movement where the perceived leader is someone that I don't trust or strongly dislike, et cetera. And so, yeah, if people who were always big blockers but didn't get along with Roger or Craig or whatever are now like, okay, now you guys are really making some moves, and I see that BCH is finally shed its baggage and dead weight or whatever you want to call it, and I'm ready to start building on BCH, then I think that's fine and fantastic. But if it's, like we've had this discussion before about SV guys coming back and they're like, yeah, okay, SV's dead, but I'm a big blocker, so let's build on BCH, and that means unlimited block size, et cetera, right? So like anything, I think proof of work, especially in BCH, is just really the decider. If you come in with your big ideas, but you have no proof of work, nobody knows who you are or what you're doing, people aren't going to trust you, and it takes time to build that trust. And people aren't going to take you seriously either. If you have this amazing idea about how you're going to do something and you come in with zero pow, then no one's going to give you the time of day. And in order for people to give you the time of day, you've got to work hard to get to that position. And, we don't like to think about the circles or a power structure or that sort of thing. It's all decentralized and everybody's equal. Well, no, that's not true. People who have been here since day one and have been building since day one and have a long history of building behind them, building being a loose term for whatever you want to say, productivity,
Contributing,
around contributing. Thank you. People are going to trust them a lot quicker and easier than they are from an anon who comes in today. For example, if Gavin Andreessen came to BCH today with a pseudonym, right? He's, Puffy Penguin 2221 or something. He could have the best ideas in the world, but people aren't going to just instantly accept them. He's going to have to prove that he knows what he's talking about and show the work that it's the way to go, and convince people. So
Yes.
I don't think there's much danger as far as like us getting swarmed by a billion new people who've all got ideas. Those people have zero pow, so they're not going to be taken seriously instantly. They're going to have to build up slowly, just like everyone else has. So I'm not super worried about it.
And in thinking about that, I sort of feel like cash tokens is also a little bit on that trajectory, because I remember how strongly there was a segment of people that were, oh, cash tokens, we can't do this. It's not a DeFi chain. We need to be P2P cash. We need to triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down on merchant adoption in areas where we clearly don't have enough firepower to actually get some organic traction, and etc. Like that kind of think, oh, maybe it's going to screw up scalability, or whatever different reasons that they had. Now, that seems to have all vanished, basically, which is potentially a combination of some of those people leaving if they didn't really see the new, not the new necessarily, but this version of the BCH vision, and potentially other people have just seen, wait, this is actually working, so now I'm on board with it. Like, what do you make of that change?
I still it's not completely gone. I still hear it from time to time. People saying that cash tokens is a waste of time and effort, and energy should be put into merchant adoption only. But I disagree 100%, because, you know, again, BCH isn't one amorphous blob that can focus all of its energy on one thing. It's a decentralized group of individuals who have different interests. And so, you know, Jason Dreisner is an amazing developer, and he's working on development stuff. I don't think he would be nearly as effective going to his neighborhood and knocking on doors and onboarding people. Whereas Jason in Australia is fantastic at that. And that's what he does, and he's passionate about it, and he loves doing it, and we support him for doing it, and would love more people to be doing it, but that's not the thing for everybody, right? And so, yeah, if you think that's super important, well, there's nothing stopping you from going around your neighborhood and onboarding people, right? And there's nothing stopping you from creating a training course or materials on how to onboard merchants, right? That's all stuff that we need. But to say that people shouldn't be working on cash tokens or NFT projects or all of these other things, when that's what they're good at. They're good at making art, or they're good at, you know, promotion, or whatever their thing is. We need all of these things. So if you're good at onboarding people, go out and do it, but don't try and stop people from doing something that they're good at, right? And so, yeah, I hear it a lot less, but it still happens from time to time. And I think, okay, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, quick shout out to both of those Jasons, absolute powerhouses. Jason Dreisner, we've got a slide. We'll talk about his latest contributions later, but a quick one on Bitcoin Jason in Australia. That guy is an absolute powerhouse. I'm never going to forget when I was in St. Kitts and I met him. I think that was the first time I'd met him. No, I might have met him before that in Australia, but I think it was in 22 when we were at November in St. Kitts, and I was hanging out with him, and we went across the road from the hotel. There was that little strip of shops there, you know, and some of them had BCH accepting and some of them didn't, and there was a little supermarket place that didn't, and we went in there because we needed to buy something. I went in there with him, and I don't know, we were getting some chips and some water or something like that, and we asked, hey, do you accept BCH? And the lady at the counter said no, and I just saw like this switch go off in Jason's brain to just onboard them. I was like, okay, you know, we're busy, we got stuff to do, we can't do it. And he was like, no, I'm just going to onboard them right now. And I was like, okay. And then, you know, he started talking to all the staff. He wanted to find out who the manager was. He was like, but he did it all. Like, he was very firm and clear and knew exactly what he was doing. It was, even for me, who, you know, knows how this process sort of happens and has seen it before and stuff, I was still a bit like, wow. when you see someone in their element like that, you know, and they've just lost all sort of, you know, self-consciousness or anything, because they're just focused on, I've got a job, I've got to get it done. That was amazing. As far as I remember, I don't think we managed to convince them to get on board in that exact moment, but I'm sure the staff were like, wow, this is something to really take seriously, and I could see,
you know, use it. So
yeah, exactly. Anyway, shout out to Bitcoin Jason. Absolutely love that guy. Okay, so we were talking about Roger then. Now the big news of this week, after a fashion, is that he went on Tucker Carlson, which kind of came a bit out of the blue. He was sort of teasing it a bit on his sort of Twitter feed, like, oh, I can't say much because I'm at risk politically if I speak out and stuff like that. But maybe I'll do just one interview kind of thing. And then Tucker Carlson basically just put it out, or he put out a sort of an announcement video and then put out the video the next day. So it all happened pretty fast. Now, I haven't watched tons of Tucker Carlson, but usually he does things in person, and usually, including like when he went to Russia to talk to Putin and stuff. And usually he also does like a multi-hour kind of thing. So this one was a bit different. It was only 45 minutes or so, and it was remote, I guess, because Roger can't travel and Tucker presumably
doesn't want to.
Didn't want to. Yeah, exactly. Didn't want to go to Spain like that badly, right? But in any case, they did this 40-minute interview, which had a huge reach. It has over 5 million views on Twitter, plus obviously on YouTube and the RSS audio feeds and all that stuff. The reach was just titanic. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I do recommend that you go and check it out. Like I said, it's only 45 minutes, but the quick summary that I've made here is that Roger basically explains his case and the situation that he's in. He explains a bit about how Bitcoin got hijacked. He shills basically privacy coins a bunch. Xano and XMR get mentioned multiple times each. BCH only gets mentioned once, sort of in passing. Yeah, very, like just in conclusion with, in the list, I guess, with the other ones at the same time. And he's clearly more excited about privacy coins at the moment. Now, some people sort of took that to say, oh, why is Roger bringing up these other coins? Why didn't he put so much focus on BCH? This was a huge opportunity. But I didn't feel like that was even a problem. I don't think he necessarily did it deliberately, but I will say whether or not it was intentional, I think it was actually a bit of a genius move, because it meant the ability for people who, of course, jumped into the comments to say, Roger just wants to shill his centralized Bcash scam. He's just trying to pump that or whatever. There was pretty ineffective to make that kind of comment on this kind of interview when most of the audience doesn't have the backstory, and they probably didn't even notice that BCH even got mentioned, or somebody going in the comments and saying he's just trying to shill BCH was completely incongruous with the actual content of the interview. And yet it got huge traction, and he talks about the Bitcoin hijacking and all that stuff. So I took it as a huge win, basically, that it wasn't the BCH Power Hour. But that was my take. What did you think?
Well, I guess first of all, I have a really strong dislike for Tucker Carlson, and I've disliked him for more than 20 years since I first saw him as a mainstream media talking head, pursuing the invasion of Iraq on CNN. So I'm not a fan at all, but I understand 100% why Roger would go on his show. If I was in Roger's position, I would definitely do the same thing. I thought it was a little bit weird how focused Tucker was on privacy. It seems like he brought up the privacy aspect of Bitcoin multiple times, as if that was like the main purpose in his eyes. Like, I thought we were supposed to be private, and I thought my transactions would be private, and I don't know, that kind of stuck out to me. It's like, of all the things that you could be interested in Bitcoin about, why are you so focused on the privacy aspect? But I'm not going to assume what his intention was with that. As far as like a genius move, I don't know if I agree. I don't know if Roger consciously thought like, oh, I'm not going to talk about Bitcoin Cash because that's just going to be the lightning rod topic, and then everyone's going to focus on that and not the problem. I understand, I think from his point of view, I do think that it was the right move to not talk about BCH, because the point of the interview isn't Bitcoin Cash is better than BTC. It's, I'm being wrongly persecuted by the United States government, right? That's the point. And I understand 100% why Roger would go on his show. If I was in Roger's position, I would definitely do the same thing. But I think from his point of view, I do think that it was the right move to not talk about BCH, because the point of the interview isn't Bitcoin Cash is better than BTC. It's, I'm being wrongly persecuted by the United States government, right? That's the point. And the fact that he wrote hijacking Bitcoin may indeed have been the impetus or inspiration for that persecution. I'm not a legal scholar. I don't know the tax laws of America. I don't know any of that. But from what I've read and what I understand, it does seem completely lopsided. 109 years or 106 years, whatever, for a tax issue. That just seems ridiculous to me. But as far as like keeping BCH out of the conversation, I guess it was the right move for him. It makes Bcashers sad because we didn't get free promo, but he did talk about hijacking Bitcoin a lot. And if you read the book, which I have, it talks about Bitcoin Cash a lot. And of course, the Amazon sales of hijacking Bitcoin have gone through the roof. And so if people do read the book, they're going to get to understand that Bitcoin Cash is, in all of our opinion, Bitcoin, the continuation of the project that Satoshi started. So, yeah, I'm not sad that he didn't like hardcore mention Bitcoin Cash, because that wasn't the point of the interview. He wasn't there to talk about hijacking Bitcoin. He was there to talk about how he's being wrongly persecuted. So it's fine. Yeah, I don't know if it was intentional, or he's cooled off on BCH so much that he didn't want to specifically. I don't know.
One of the things, just for like context about Tucker, so he's done an interview, or I guess he went on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and I've only known Tucker as a news host, but seeing him there was probably like, okay, I see why this guy is likable. But he also mentioned that he was using Signal, and that he had some experience that essentially was like telling him that Signal wasn't private. Like he had government agents come up to him and ask him things that apparently he had only spoken about in messages. So I think that's where he's coming from with, oh, I thought Bitcoin was supposed to be this private thing. I think he's just kind of paranoid, and probably for a good reason at this point.
Well, yes. No doubt. When you're that famous, all kinds of people are interested in your private communications, from both sides, right? Whether it's from within and without, you become a target. So I understand he'd be paranoid, sure.
But it just became this whole political issue, like, right, with Roger. Like, it was a political issue in the sense that the persecution seemed to be political from the beginning, but now it's become a political issue in the sense that the political media sphere have really jumped on this over the last couple of months, right? And it just has gone so far beyond the little BCH BTC things, although that's kind of tangential to the story and always gets worked in there. But it has just become this huge topic, which I mean, for him, I'm well, maybe one day I'll get a chance to ask him what that's actually been like. He's certainly no stranger to being sort of famous, but this certainly seems like another level of it, and it does seem to have kind of just drowned out the smaller battles in crypto. That a lot of people who are not big fans of BCH have been saying, okay, forget about the BCH stuff, kind of, I'm on Roger's side, this is unjust, etc., etc. And a lot of people taking an interest in his cause just because it has become sort of politically aligned or associated or whatever with the American right wing. And that's the thing in politics. As soon as you can get one side or the other convinced that your cause is a big part of their cause, then it just spreads to like a gigantic percentage of the population just on that tribal basis, right? It's been fascinating to see.
I agree. I don't have anything to add to that. It's been, I don't know how Bitcoin became a political thing. I mean, I shouldn't say political, a political party thing. Oh, what happened to my face? I'm freaking out. What's going on here? Yeah, I don't know how it became, right versus left or what, if it's like the environmental thing turned off the left, I don't know. Yeah, there's certainly far more interest in it now. I think for anyone who's a libertarian, they're well aware of the very heavy hand of the government coming down unequally in certain places. There's so many criminals all across the world. How much money and resources do you have to go after people, and why do you go after some people and not other people? The Epstein list is out there. How many people from the Epstein list have been prosecuted? One. So, I don't know. I think, even assuming Roger is guilty and he dodged $1 billion worth of taxes, I think people would far rather the resources go to protecting children versus trying to claw back money from Roger. It seems like a huge misallocation of funds and resources, even if he was guilty, which I don't believe he is. So yeah, it's just ridiculous.
I saw a meme yesterday that was like the IRS got an additional $46 billion for tax enforcement, and from that they've reclaimed $4.6 billion. Right. And it's like, where's the money going?
Yeah.
Well, the point is not the economics. The point is the intimidation and harassment, of course, right?
Yeah, so it's just it's a farce. I think that's a big part of the reason why we're all into Bitcoin, is because we look at all of these things in the world that are just obviously broken to everyone, right? It's just not fair. It's not equitable. It's lopsided. It's wrong. It's morally wrong. It's all of these things, and we're trying to make a difference in any way we can to try and reset the game. It's there's so many cheaters in this game.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I will say, as much as I said, okay, it wasn't really about BCH or anything like that, but nevertheless, you still had a large percentage of people in the comments really trying to fight their BTC versus BCH war. Okay, he's a scammer. Here's a picture of him with Craig Wright.
Sure.
Just wanted to change Bitcoin, and then he failed, so he's sour grapes about
Bitcoin
it.
Cash.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. One of the biggest myths of all time, no matter how many times he debunks it, including in Hijacking Bitcoin, which is actually good because people can read Hijacking Bitcoin, and he talks about there was all this propaganda, and then they can go and read the propaganda live and be like, oh, I see. It's still happening. But anyway, regardless, that all kind of got mixed in there in the comments, but it feels to me like we're over a turning point. We're past a critical mass with regards to that topic. I think about like 2023, the whole ordinals situation then changed the conversation around. Before that, it was just digital gold. It's still kind of working, guys. And then that really put them into a panic about that. And in 2024, the hijacking of Bitcoin has become, I would say, like common knowledge. Like it's gone from the underdog theory or the hidden information that we were trying to, guys, Bitcoin was hijacked, and trying to explain to everyone how it had been diverted from its original purpose and stuff. Now I feel like that flipped where, okay, basically everybody kind of knows or understands that to some, like in the Overton window, that's just kind of understood. And then the people who want to say, no, BTC is still the way it should be, and etc., they're now in the little protesting minority, which is always going to continually have a hard uphill slog because they were fighting with all the propaganda and censorship on their side. So if that still isn't enough, that's not going to, help them come back any more than it already has. Like they can't double up the propaganda again, basically.
Well, if you look at the comments, everyone who was like, hijacking Bitcoin is a scam, it's fake, or whatever, and then people that were fighting back, it wasn't just us in the community. There are so many people who have abandoned BTC because of the reasons why we forked, and they, instead of deciding to fight to keep Bitcoin, they essentially gave up on Bitcoin and went to other projects. They went to Ethereum, they went to 7 billion other chains that exist now, all of which would have existed on Bitcoin if we hadn't been neutered. But that's a different story. And so, objectively, it's not just us who are in there being like, nah, it's people from all over the crypto sphere who agree that Bitcoin was hijacked. And they don't think that BCH was the way forward and et cetera, because, milk coin is the true crypto of the future or whatever they believe. But we all agree that Bitcoin was hijacked and the project was sent into a direction that is not compatible with what we thought Bitcoin was going to be, so yeah, it's really interesting to see the comments there.
But it's hit a critical mass. My point is that 2 or 3 years ago, those BTC guys were still dominating the conversation, even if they were a minority of the, let's say they're like the market cap, sort of similar. Maybe they were 40% of the conversation, but they were taking up 80 or 90% of the sort of airtime. Now I feel like it's flipped around, and they might still be 30 or 40% of the conversation, but they're now only 30 or 40% of the conversation, or 30, 40%, maybe even less, maybe 20%. Like, it's going to be declining because truth doesn't rust. So over time, more and more people come to understand it, because the time somebody is most vulnerable to the propaganda is when they have no background. If they're like, I don't really know what is Bitcoin, the first thing they go is, oh, here's the BTC community screaming about this, that, and the other. Okay, that's what it is. But it's only once they have some problems, or they wonder, why is there alternatives to Bitcoin, BTC? What are the differences in those things? What do those people disagree about BTC? It's only once they get that one step further that they start to unravel the threads of the propaganda, right?
Yep. Yeah, the amount of comments that I agree with you. The amount of comments that were, the old narrative of number go up, have fun staying poor, is diminishing rapidly. Even though Bitcoin just hit an all-time high, there isn't celebration going on. There isn't a huge amount of dunking going on either. It's like very quiet. Like, oh, we got a new all-time high. We were right, I guess, because we got richer. Yay! But that's it. They can't. I mean, they're embroiled in their own scaling debate right now with all these people trying to make new nodes, etc. And their issues haven't stopped. If anything, they've picked up. Meanwhile, we're like united and powering through all these upgrades and great new tech, and they can't catch up. So. Yeah, don't languish over there, guys. You can fight to get your pet project in, or just come on over to us. We've already got it rocking and rolling. Just imagine with your power on our chain, we'd rock it even faster, and you're not going to get there on a rock. So come on over.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. So on that, I have a community comment of the week now. This is pretty hard hitting. Okay, I got to be honest. Before I read it out, I'm not averse to being insulting or mocking, especially on Twitter. I have to be more toned down on this show, particularly if I have I can't be the host of the show and also be directly insulting my guests. That's not very fair, right?
Go ahead. I'm ready for it. Just do it. Come on.
Okay, Chief Lightning
are ugly.
Our most common guest. Oh my god,
jerk!
Why would he come on this trash show? Anyway, this comment, it's community comment of the week, but it's the kind of thing that when I read it, I was audibly like, oofed. Oof, that's a big hit, Sometimes when you read something and you're like, okay, that goes pretty hard. In fact, it even got visibility limited on Twitter for this post may violate the rules against hateful conduct. So there you have it. But I'm going to read, Jet.
The reason why that it's likely limited is because this text is from Industrial Society and Its Future, which is written by Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Right, it's the Unabomber manifesto. So,
all right,
yeah,
I
when
do
I saw it, I
recommend.
was like, ooh.
It's a good read. I love it. Like one of my favorite. Like, good read. I do recommend it.
All right.
All right, the audio audience are in suspense. So this comes from Amir Taki, who, if you listen to episode 100 of the podcast where we talked to Roger Ver, he told a funny story about Amir Taki, who is this longtime Bitcoiner. He was involved very early, and he did a lot of development of. He loves DarkFi, what he calls DarkFi, which is basically like privacy-related crypto stuff. And he wrote a post basically saying, look, Roger, again, to your point that you just said, Roger's out there fighting the good fight. We got to back him on this, even if I, personally have had differences with him or in the past, he's being unjustly persecuted. BTC is captured, yada, yada, yada. He was right about the hijacking, basically. So then we have a reply here from Mr. Hoddle, the king of toxic maximalism, contrarian, low IQ bullshit, basically, who replied to that with the sarcastic letter, mixed capitals font. Why not let the community decide? Shut the fuck up. So he was trying to just say, Amir, like, again, there's no real argument here. It's just trying to be toxic and dismissive. So Amir got him back with, quote, "You're a laser-eyed faggot with no ideology or vision for Bitcoin. It's a cool, trendy subculture for you. You wear icons on your name like a left-wing activist who wears badges for various social causes. Typical last man tier people that Roger talks about. Literal cancer," end quote. And then a section here from, what did you say it was called? Industrial Revolution? Or
Industrial Society and Its Future.
All right, Industrial Society and Its Future. Okay, which is basically talking about how left-wing people, just can corrupt stuff with all this kind of virtue signaling is basically the gist of it. So that was pretty hard, but I just took this as firstly, if even I read a Twitter comment and think, wow, that's a big hit. I thought there's no way that couldn't be community comment of the week. But secondly, it just really goes to your point. I think that these guys are just fighting an uphill battle now because if you just alienate people over and over and over and over again, eventually you discover you're in the minority, which they like to be. They like to be the contrarian, aggro, angsty teenagers or whatever. But that only works for so long. And once you've put enough people offside, they generally don't come back, right? So I just think in hindsight, 2024 will be seen as a pivotal year in that narrative sense. And I think in 2025 and going forward, we're going to be living in a different world with regards to that cultural conversation around cryptocurrency.
Quick question for you, Jeremy. I know that YouTube does give us a little leeway. There's like vaporwave album versions of the manifesto. So I was wondering if you could read this for the audience. And the other thing, adding this, and I'm not going to pull it up, but after you read this, I think everyone should go read The System's Neatest Trick. Same manifesto, but it talks about how the system creates these essentially opposing forces to sustain its own to sustain itself,
symbiosis,
controlled opposition, and the opposition actually gives credibility to the thing. Could definitely change the way that I see activism.
All right, you want a dramatic reading of this section, do you? Okay, all right, here we go. An audio book presented by the Bitcoin Cash podcast, read for you by Jeremy from Ted Kaczynski, Industrial Society and Its Future, subquoted, what's it called? Selected readings by Amir Taki. Quote, Rule, Part 4. A revolutionary movement aspiring to, in quotation marks, kill the technological system would need to find a way of preventing unsuitable persons from joining the movement. Most likely, the chief danger would come from people of leftist type, as defined in Industrial Society and its future footnote 163, who attach themselves to, quote, causes indiscriminately. A movement could probably drive such people away by maintaining a continuous verbal and ideological attack on leftist beliefs, goals, and ideas. If that proved insufficient to repel leftists, or if other types of undesirables, e.g. rightists, were attracted to the movement, other means of keeping the movement, in quote, pure would have to be found, end quote. So yeah, it's basically, it's what you were saying, right? It's kind of saying, okay, there's this virtue signaling with leftists, but then that's not to say that the right is good in contrast. It's more just a divide and conquer type of idea, right? I don't know. I haven't read the full book, so it strikes me. Okay. All right. That's it. So there you go. That's your Ted Kaczynski dramatic reading for the day. Moving on, in other more less divisive news, yes. Let's say we've got Chief Lightning here from the Bitcoin Cash Foundation. Now, yes, give us the full run through. I mean, you've talked about it before on the show, but for listeners who don't know, or maybe it's a good time in light of the campaign that we'll talk about in a second, to give an overview of what you work on and why you do it.
Sure. I'll try and summarize things without going too deep into the history. So I guess probably like 5 or more or so years ago, I was just a dude who just liked BCH and was like, yay, people are doing stuff. All those someones are doing something. Good for them. And at that point, I was basically just the Osaka, Japan BCH meetup co-organizer, and also one of the world's first merchants who accepted both Bitcoin, and also probably one of the world's first merchants to accept BCH as well. And I ran an online shop. And then there was a big change, and you can kind of thank Trump for it. In 2019, Trump announced that he wanted to withdraw from the UPU, which is the Universal Postal Union, which is basically an international group that set postal rules and rates. It's really complicated, but anyway, they ended up changing the rules so that America was able to start changing postal rates and much higher postal rates. And then, of course, internationally, all the other countries in the world changed their postal rates to reflect. And that, essentially killed my business. And as a merchant who almost exclusively sold small items, the $1.50 shipping option was gone. The cheapest shipping option became $7, and that essentially killed my business, which was really terrible. But at the same time, that was about 2020, July, I think. It also gave me a lot more free time. So I was able to start working on more BCH stuff. First, I volunteered to be one of the mods of BCH channel, which is Telegram's biggest BCH group, because there were no active mods in my time zone in Asia. And was just doing that casually. And then when Smart BCH launched, I was like, oh, wow, this is a new thing, and it's really going to push the envelope, and we're going to rock. And so I, volunteered with the Smart BCH team to help them moderate their stuff, and also, coordinate developers, et cetera, et cetera. Then shortly after that, or around the same time, I don't remember exactly when, Satoshi's Angels, press F, asked me if I would be interested in editing the weekly BCH News, and I said sure. And then eventually that turned into writing the BCH News. And then, of course, once they wound down, I thought the news was valuable and important enough to keep writing it on my own. And so instead of a team of people, it became just me and completely independent. But also around then, I guess 2021, 22 was when the someone meme really started to take off. And of course, that was essentially the you name myself and Jeremy, who really latched on to this whole someone thing, because there's a never-ending stream of people who come into the chats and they say we should, or BCH should, or someone should about every little thing. But of course, big things get attention. They're developers to work on these big things, these big projects. But there's so many little tiny small things that nobody owns. And in a decentralized system, ownership is really the thing that progresses our way forward. Someone decides that X needs to get done, and they do it themselves, or they make sure that someone else does it by supporting or paying them to do it. And so looking around, there was, so many small little things that needed to get done that, nobody was doing. And, Bitcoin Cash has never had a foundation before. There was no developer fund. There was no 20% pre-mine booty to distribute to get these things done, to hire companies to make promotional videos and do airdrops and AMAs and all of the other crypto scammy stuff that happens constantly all day, every day around the world. But still, there's someone needs to do these things. I don't mean AMAs. I mean all the stuff that I do. So I do a lot of stuff. The list is ever increasing. My time is ever decreasing. But yeah, I write, edit, post, film, produce the news, weekly news every week. It takes a lot more time than you probably imagine. Not you guys. You guys are involved in production, so you know what goes into it. But I mean, the wider audience probably doesn't appreciate how much time that actually takes. And then, of course, posting it. I post it at least 12 different social media platforms now. I've lost count. And that also takes a huge amount of time. There's no API that can just post everything everywhere. You've got to manually do it all over the place. I am the person who's in charge of the CoinMarketCap page for Bitcoin Cash. It has 220,000 followers now. Try to make sure that the information for BCH is up to date. Dealing with CoinMarketCap's system is incredibly slow. So only just recently was the white paper and the socials updated on the CoinMarketCap listing. I don't know how long that took, but it took quite a long time for them to update it. I also moderate and or own 25 different Telegram groups now, and the BCHF Discord as well, which is a place that I'm hoping to inspire volunteers to come and help contribute. So if you're interested in helping BCH and you don't know how you can contribute or what you can do, there's so many things that you could do to help. I'm just one cat. I can't do it all by myself. So if you have a little bit of time, please come help volunteer. I can help push you in the right direction. I also created the BCHF mod squad, which is a right now it's just an automated process on Telegram. It's a Rosebot federation. So when I do moderation activities in one group, I ban an obvious scammer or spammer or whatever that's reflected in any other Telegram group that has subscribed to Rosebot, the BCHF federation. So that saves people a lot of time and effort having to deal with all of these bots and things, because I've already taken care of it for you. There's no fee for it. It's just a string of text you need to write to Rose, and she will add you. So it's another public good thing. If you want to benefit from that, then anyone is free and welcome to join the Federation. And if you think I'm an evil tyrant and that I'm too hard on those poor innocent bots, then don't subscribe to the Federation. All day yesterday, I spent upresing BCH company and project logos to submit to stock image websites, which of course is another arduous process, which takes a lot of time and is convoluted. But somebody needs to do it. If you look at news articles about crypto around the world, they get their BCH images from Shutterstock, and the images that are on Shutterstock are not particularly up to date or representative. There's still the orange logo being used all over the place. Someone needs to update that stuff. Who's going to do it, right? On and on and on. There's so many more things. I don't want to talk your ear off, but all day, every day for the last 2 years, I've been full-time, 100% BCH. I wake up around noon and I go to bed 4 or 5 a.m. and I'm in front of the computer almost the entire day, just working on BCH stuff. Also coordination, outreach. I guess I should talk about that as well. So when there's a node update, I'm contacting over 300 different crypto projects, companies' websites to let them know about the update. When there was a bug fix, same thing. Hammering down. Making sure that these people upgrade. It's, usually I'll email them and they'll say, thanks, we forwarded it to our team. I'll wait like a week, email them again. Okay, did you actually implement it? Because this is a bug fix. You guys have to be on it. Somebody's got to take care of it, and that's what I do. Also, making sure that logos and things on websites are correct. The name is correct. Nobody uses BCC or BCHN, ABC 123, as you see. Just hammering those people, trying to get them to update to cache addresses and all of these things. Right? It's just constant stream of communication with all of these things all over the place. And that's a huge part of why I created the Bitcoin Cash Foundation. It's a very important URL, right? BitcoinCashFoundation.org. And so when I contact someone, some mining pool or something, it's coming from the BitcoinCashFoundation.org. It's not just cheaplightning@gmail.com, right? It's something that sounds a little bit more important. And I don't pretend to be, the deciding voice of BCH or anything like that. I'm not pretending to be, the leader of the chain or anything like that. I'm just someone you can contact if you want to get some realistic, up-to-date information. I'm currently in talks with a wallet, non-BCH focused wallet, to get them to support cash tokens, and so we're trying to figure out how that can happen. And if it does happen, they'll be the first non-community developed wallet that supports cash tokens. On and on and on and on and on. I see someone said, you are not Jihan Wu. That's correct. I am not Jihan Wu. I don't know if that is in reference to me, but hello, chat. Nice to see you. So, yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing list of stuff that you're involved in, and the amount of difference that it makes is absolutely enormous. I mean, the Bitcoin has a terrible history with foundations. As I'm sure you're more than aware, but for people who don't know, I believe there was an effort in 2014-ish, there would have been, where somebody said, we're going to do a Bitcoin foundation. And then, of course, that turned into a huge palaver about you're not in control of us, and who was involved, and some politics, and some money got donated and then scammed, and I don't even know the details, but it was the same as every other crypto story ever. And then, of course, all the other company coins pre-mine that, and then they use that as a foundation, which has then trained the rest of the industry that a decentralized thing should really have a centralized point of contact where you can get the authoritative information. But that's why I kind of like that for many years BCH did not have that, because everybody had learned those lessons, like that this doesn't actually work. And now, as things go, you've organically hit on a way to do this in a way that I feel does actually authentically reflect the community, and the difference that it makes is absolutely massive. So tell us a little bit about your funding campaign. You're on fundme.cash/campaign/17, but you just go to fundme.cash and it'll load up on the homepage. So you're requesting 120 BCH, of which 92 BCH, 77% have so far been contributed. Tell me, what's this campaign about?
Yeah, so when I launched it, I was actually waiting quite a while. People have been telling me for ages now, you need to do a fundraiser and I'll support you. And when are you going to do your fundraiser? And I've been delaying it because legal issues, and I wanted to get proper advice. I was, considering actually forming a nonprofit, but here in Japan, the rules to forming a nonprofit are so much red tape. Like you can't even believe it. You need a board of directors and regular meetings and on and tax, bank account and co-signers and all of this stuff, right? So it just, while I was fighting through the system, I was not about to start asking for money until I had the details worked out. And eventually I just decided, okay, well, if we're going to do this as a MPO, it's not going to happen anytime soon, and so it's going to have to wait. But at the same time, I have to eat, and so as much as I'm dedicated to BCH, and I wanted to succeed, more than anything. I got to take care of what is it, Pavlov's, what a pyramid of needs. Or
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, that's it. So I waited until the BCH price went up a little bit. And the amount I was hoping to get was about $50,000, which I think is a reasonable amount of money for the amount of work that I've done. Of course, BCH prices has gone up since then, so it's quite a bit more generous now. But as with Eddie Crypto, the price by Christmas Day, when the campaign ends, please contribute before Christmas Day, will not necessarily be the price today. So we'll find out when we get there. Within the first day, it hit 50%, and I was just gobsmacked, flattered. I suffer from imposter syndrome, just like many other people, and I thought, nobody's gonna recognize what I've done or want to contribute, and it's gonna fail at 2% or something. But no, in the first 24 hours, it hit 50%, and I'm just so thankful, and I feel appreciated and loved and all of those things, and I really do.
Okay.
Just in the middle of that heartwarming.
Oh man.
Shout out, we were doing so well. It was like just barely getting there.
And I wonder if his computer had an issue, because it showed that his network connection was still good. DDoS by Samson.
Trade quest in the chat. DDoS by Samson. That's a deep cut. He's said on the show previously that his node got knocked out during the block size wars. Somebody was targeting his region to take down his and potentially other people's big block nodes. So. Anyway, I'm sure he'll be back in a second. But in the meantime, I think, everybody should seriously consider funding this campaign, because the value for money you're getting is absolutely enormous. It is 77% done. And as was just mentioned, it goes until Christmas Day. So you have some time to do it. And if you haven't used fundme.cash yet, this also gives you a chance to play around with that latest tooling from BCH, which is actually quite enlightening, I think, to a lot of people. Here we go.
Let me swap him back in.
What happened?
You're good. Well,
I don't know.
Disconnect. Wait, are you here? No, I think he's going to disconnect again.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to that in a second. But in the meantime, we're doing a double pitch here on this is the end of year shill show, because the Bitcoin Cash podcast is also running a FundMe. So while you're on fundme.cash, you can also head over to our FundMe campaign and send us a few sats. We've got 39% completed, 7.1 BCH out of 18 BCH, which is for the 10 episodes from 136 to 145. We've been running sort of a fresh batch every 10 episodes. My main, argument to you is if you're listening to this show and you're an hour and a bit in and you're enjoying it, well, we can't do this for free. Although we have in the past, but if we weren't able to fund the show, we would certainly be a lot less effective at it than we are. The show has just hit 9,000 Twitter followers, and we're just about at 2,500 YouTube subs, and I think by all accounts, essentially the largest and most visible promoters of BCH directly, right? Like we just saw, we're not getting 5 million YouTube views like Roger just yet, but we're on the pathway there. And in the meantime, our work is mostly to the actual hardcore BCH community, right? Which even if you're not reaching as many people, I think produces insane value. So please consider going to fundme.cash and putting in some sats there, because we would really appreciate it, and it would put us in a great spot going into the new year. Any thoughts on any of that, Jet?
Oh, actually, I do. I tried to contribute to Cheapy's campaign. I think it was at the start of this week, and I was just doing it on mobile. Does that not work currently, or is it? Oh, it looks like
I don't know. I think it should work if you had a mobile Cash Connect.
Yeah,
well, you do need to have one UTXO. It is still a little bit janky in that you need to have one UTXO that covers the whole thing. And if you don't, then it should give you a message. I talked to Sayoshi about that, and it does give you a message and says, oh, you need to consolidate your UTXO. And then you can just click a button and then do it from there, right? But so it is still a little bit janky, to be honest, but it's much easier than the Flipstarter plugin. So it's got that going for it.
All right, Cheapy, are you back? Hello? You back? Oh, now it's showing your network is not good.
In and out.
Green is good, red and back, video preview. Video packet loss. Can
Hello?
you hear us? Cheapy.
Should be able to hear us.
No. Maybe we
All
can't
right.
hear you. Hold on, let me re-request. I'm gonna do some.
All right. In the meantime,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just crack on with the next topic, and we'll get him in once we've got him in. Okay. So in other news, Jason Dreisner, the BCH All-Star, is already back in action. Just 3 weeks, or maybe three to 4 weeks after the lock-in of VM limits and big ints, which took a lot of work to get over the line, and obviously will be shipping live in May, at which you can come and celebrate with us at BCH Bliss on the 13th to the 15th of May. But with VM limits now in the pipeline pretty confidently, Jason said to me, look, it's a lot of work doing these chips, so I think maybe I need to take a break. Maybe he's done cash tokens, VM limits. Maybe I just need to step back a little bit. I've had a lot going on. I thought, okay, fair enough, Jason. And then yesterday, I logged on to Twitter to find Jason saying that he's released 3 brand new chips. So he was straight back into action. They're new, but they're sort of not new after a fashion. So the exact quote of what he said was, proposing 3 chips for Bitcoin Cash's 2026 upgrade: loops, function eval and pay to script P2S. These would make BCH contracts more efficient than ETH, Solana, etc. across some remaining gaps and optimize transaction sizes for zero knowledge and post-quantum covenants, end quote. And then he goes on to explain it. So there's these three different chips involved. So one is loops, which is not that new as far as I understand it. It's been discussed since 2021 and was blocked by the VM limits in 2023, 2024. So now in 2025, that's going to be fixed, which unlocks this change essentially for 2026. Obviously, this is just my first impression from having a brief look at it yesterday, but this one to me seems fairly non-controversial. I expect that there'll be some hashing it out, there'll be some discussion, there'll be some tweaks, but I think generally it makes sense that we should have the ability to do loops in the BCH VM. We especially will have the updated limits to make sure somebody can't DDoS the network, and then you have the fee system to make sure somebody can't spam the network, and ABLA as well. So between those things, I'm not too worried about this, given a good implementation. I think it makes sense. And most likely, I think that's where people are going to land on that. But of course, it's early days. The second one, op eval, about function eval, is a little more controversial. And I've seen there's already been some substantial discussion about that. Now, for people who are not programmers, eval is generally just a bit controversial in programming overall. I know that I think you have it in JavaScript, but it's the kind of thing, it's like a very, very, very sharp knife. You should only use it very rarely and only very carefully, because the idea is that you can run some sort of arbitrary and unchecked code. So for instance, in JavaScript, if you are running eval, you might, like, usually JavaScript would not let you just delete all the files off your hard drive or rename the critical infrastructure to something different that fucked up your whole machine, right? Usually you can't do that kind of stuff. But if you use eval, it's kind of like a secret hatch that, okay, if you really know what you're doing and you're really sure you want to do it anyway, we'll let you do it. Now that's got a upside, right? That's very powerful in certain situations if you can just run some arbitrary code, but it's also very dangerous or risky if, as the programmer, you misused it. So op eval is not exactly like that, because it would be running within the BCH VM. So I don't believe, as far as I'm aware, any kind of eval in BCH wouldn't be able to just overwrite random files on your computer and stuff like that. Like, it would only be able to impact things within the sort of Bitcoin Cash environment. But nevertheless, this idea of being able to repackage functions so that they can be easily reused on the chain might be really powerful in terms of improving efficiency, improving safety, in the sense that you can write some kind of contract that we want to do once and then maybe just refer back to it instead of having to copy and paste it every time, which could potentially introduce errors or having slight tweaks to it that people don't notice. And there's some work in the XO cache stack that we've also talked about on the show, and with contract templates to also address the same problem. So I'm not entirely sure how much those two things overlap or not. I'm sure that will come out in further discussion. But op eval I expect to be a little more controversial. And then finally, the pay to script one, I'm in two minds about that as well too, because I don't really know what to make of it. As I understand it, the idea is to allow more efficient and simpler contracts. We do already have the pay to script hash transactions, which are roughly similar, I guess. But the idea with pay to script would be that they're moved, I think, from non-standard into standard transactions, if I remember right, or the standardness rules are reduced to allow these. And the point being that you could write more complicated contracts, which we're going to increasingly have as the DeFi on BCH ramps up, and that wallets who did not support those contracts would not be able to accidentally fiddle with them or spend them or get confused by them or anything like that. Again, it's also sounds similar to me to the templating for contracts and all the work that's going on in that area. So at this point, yeah, I'm certainly no expert on it, having just came out of it. But those are my initial impressions, and of course, we will get Jason on the show as well as other people to discuss once things play out. But the bottom line summary is we've already got 3 chips kind of on the go for a 2026 upgrade, which I take as an incredible sign of momentum, because what it means is that Jason personally and the ecosystem at large has already got the existing stuff under control, right? VM limits has not only already been coded, it's not going live yet, but it's already been coded, it's already been tested, it's already been added into the dev infrastructure and tooling so that people can play around with it. And that's freed up his mental bandwidth to move on to the next problem. So it's an amazing sign of momentum in the BCH ecosystem. What do you make of this, Jet?
I got a good kick out of him being like, I'm gonna like retire for a couple of years and then just never give himself that chance.
He's like my dad. My dad has been telling me for the last 15 years that he was just going to retire in 5 years, and every 5 years he's 5 years away from retiring. So I mean, yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing when you've got progress that needs to be made, problems that need to be solved. Well, if you love it that much, you just keep getting. It's like that quote from The Sopranos, and I'm not sure where's the original source from The Godfather. You know, just when I'm out, they pull me back in. It's exactly like that. But yeah, it's I don't know, incredibly bullish to me. Like Cheap Lightning was mentioning just before, that we're just shipping upgrade after upgrade after upgrade, and none of this stuff is like useless. Like people could maybe get the impression who are outside of what was going on, like, oh, they like, I often criticize Ethereum, right, for they just ship upgrades to ship upgrades because engineers like upgrading stuff. They fiddle stuff that just causes further problems or things like that. That's not what's happening here. And I think that's really that's visible in the ecosystem. It's not like we shipped cash tokens and then suddenly 2 years later everyone's like, no, we need to rework this or rewrite. No, nobody said anything about that. Nobody said, oh, Abla, we've discovered that we messed up and we need to change. No, once it's done, and the next real problem is getting fixed. Do you have any reflections on any of that?
Sorry, I stopped paying attention. I'm trying to help Cheap
Yes.
Lightning like do technical.
Are we going to get him back in a second?
So,
otherwise, we can just crack on with the next topic.
He's trying another browser right now. The issue is that he rebooted his computer and now there's no webcam or sound card detection. I don't know what to do about that.
Lovely. All right. Well, in the meantime, let's just crack on. I'm sure the live viewers want to crack on with it. So I have got this topic here. This is the Jeremy's coin roast section of the podcast. So the Ethereum community. Oh, here we go.
Hey.
Welcome back.
What a boondoggle.
Yes, absolutely. Anyway, you're coming in loud and clear. So just tell me a bit more about the BCH Foundation. You were giving a very impassioned plea to people, that you were feeling loved and appreciated.
Oh, no.
Oh, damn it.
Oh.
Am I dead again?
No, you're here.
No, you're here.
It's showing
Crack
your
on.
network as weak, but you're here.
how could it be weak? I have 10 gigabit fiber.
Big blocks of the scam, knew it.
Right. Yeah, I saw someone in the chat said Samsung DDoSed it. It reminds me of XT days when I took out my neighborhood's internet because I ran an XT node. Yeah, I don't know. My my speech has been kneecapped. But anyway, thank you everyone for considering all the contributions, and just seeing your name on the campaign as someone who contributes is incredibly valuable, emotionally and mentally. So even if you can only pledge a penny or a sat or whatever the minimum is, please feel free to do so, just so your name is included in the list of people who think that my work is valuable. And one thing I didn't mention before, which I think is also valuable, which probably isn't talked about enough, is that we're currently living in the AI revolution. And so having as much BCH information out there to be digested by AI is incredibly valuable in my opinion. And so having that information out there on as many sites as possible is, I think, valuable. So please remember that as well. Sorry, you were going to say something. I cut you off.
Yeah, well, just so the plan is you get this funding, and to be clear, you're sort of doing it retroactively, right? You're getting funded for the work that you feel you've done over the last year, and then in a way that will motivate you to continue the next year, and then maybe there'll be another Flipstarter, or what's just the bigger plan here?
Sure. Yeah. So yes, it is retroactive. I don't have a list of goals that I want to accomplish next year, or I shouldn't say that. I do have a list of goals. I don't have a list of promises. So I will definitely be continuing to do what I do at the pace that I'm doing it, if not more so, especially if I don't have to consider about getting a job and spending 8 hours a day in the coal mine or wherever I end up. Yeah, it would, just allow me to continue doing what I'm doing and hopefully expand upon it as well. And so I do have a lot of hopes and ambitions for things that I want to do in the future, which includes, hiring staff and branching out as much as I can. But I don't have a solid idea of exactly how that's going to work, especially given the legal issues around it. But I definitely want to do more. And so if I have a little bit of leeway, then that'll certainly happen. Unfortunately, if this is not funded, then any future goals I have will have to fit in the time constraints that exist. And so I probably won't be expanding things. But yeah, there's so much to do. I have so many ideas, just like everyone else. Flipwatch has been a project of mine that I really want to expand upon, but it's a huge time sink. And so as far as the priorities go, it's not high on my list of priorities, and I'd love to be able to work on it. And really flesh it out, because I think it's valuable. But at the same time, there's been a lot less. What should I say? Well, I'll just say grifters. Yes, there's been far fewer grifters in the last year as well. So maybe it's not super necessary, but still, it's good to have an archive and also an investigation of what has been delivered. People make that's another reason why I don't want to promise a lot of stuff, is because I think we've been burned in the past about these people are like, yeah, give me all of this money, and I'm going to make the most amazing thing, and it's going to send BCH to the moon. Where I've done the opposite. I've done all of this work, right? If you think it's valuable and you think it helped, then help me. You don't have to worry about what I promised to do for the future. Look at what I just did. Look what I've been doing. And if you think that is valuable, then please vote with your wallet. So yeah, it's the opposite. I think proof of work is so important. And in the case of developers, or it's like a node team or a wallet team or whatever. It's like, we want to add these features. They have this huge proof of work behind them, and so if they do say, we want to add this, it's relatively easy to be like, oh yeah, they've delivered all this stuff that they promised before. They're going to continue delivering. It's really safe. It's easy. But for what I do, it's not. If I promise, it's like, I'm going to reach out to an extra 300 companies. Like, who's going to verify that? How are you going to quantify that? So I prefer to do things retroactively. If things go the way I want, then I'll be bringing a lot more to the ecosystem next year. And then at the end of next year, if BCH has not rocketed up 10x or something, then I'll probably be asking for money again. And then you should look at all the work that I've done in 2025 and see if that's been worth whatever price I ask in the future. Hopefully, BCH will go to the moon and I'll never have to ask for money again, but we're not there yet. So.
Well, even if it did, I mean, it's not like it was BCH moons and then everybody will just say, okay, we're all set for life and we can all just chill. What's actually going to like an economy needs to keep turning. It just means that maybe people solve some set of problems and then they have spare resources to tackle an even bigger problem. There will still be flip starters and whatever going, it's not like people who have billions of dollars stop selling products or making money or doing, they just do it at a different scale,
No, I just meant me specifically. So if BCH moons in the next year, then it may not be necessary for me to seek an income, right?
No, but I would still encourage you to, even if it did, even if you were sorted, you were paid off everything, I would say just still do the funding and then hire some employees and expand and that's capitalism, right?
Sure, I agree 100%. So yeah, if BCH moons, then I would certainly be looking at forming a nonprofit and hiring staff and making a budget and setting strong goals of all the different things that we're going to do. We're going to make a tutorial series that's, whatever. Absolutely. But as far as me getting paid personally, I think it probably wouldn't be an issue.
No, and I've got to say, I think this is a good model because this is how I did it with the podcast, right? We did 75 episodes just on sort of donations and force of will, basically, and then started running the flip starters and now the fund me's, right? And it started with look at the backlog of work that we've done, and then if you want that to continue, help us out. And then you've done the same thing. And then kind of you do that for a little while, and then you start to transition to, okay, now I've got a history of not only doing work, but also raising the money and continuing to deliver. Then you can kind of start to say, okay, slightly more speculatively, will you fund me for these future goals or whatever, right? Rather than just on the back of past work. So I think that's a natural transition of how it works. So everybody can go to fundme.cash and hit up Cheapy's campaign and also our campaign as well too. You missed it while you were off air, but we did a big shill of that. And then we also talked about the new chips. So I already did a quick run through of my takes on these with what's on the slide. Do you have any thoughts about this? We're already rolling for 2026. It's like, it's literally not even end of calendar year 2024. Right. We're already rolling, right?
I think this is exactly the way it's supposed to go. I'm amazed. If you look at the CHIPS document that UNAME wrote, that is basically it. It's like everything for 2025 should all have been well decided before November, and then by November, chips for next year should already start rolling out. So this is like perfectly on schedule. I'm surprised and shocked and amazed by Jason's output. I can't speak to the technical aspects of this stuff. It's all way over my head. It makes BCH more gooder than great. Should we have op eval? I have no idea. It means nothing to me. But the fact that it's out there and people can already start looking at it and working on it and discussing it for next November is great. And I love his pace. I love his work ethic.
DDoSed again. Just as the compliments get rolling, that's it. That's time to shut him down, eh?
Yeah, I wonder what in the hell is going on here. Because that, again, same, it looked like his network was doing fine. Everything was good.
All right, well, while you sort that out, sounds like chips are under control. I'm going to roast ETH a little bit. So we've got this slide here. The Ethereum community have started sweating their competition from Solana. So I've got a quote tweet here from David Hoffman of the Bankless podcast, who I have criticized many times on this show. And he said about this Pudgy Penguins launch that was happening, where they have launched on Solana. This is a big NFT collection, and they decided to roll out their kind of latest products on Solana instead of Ethereum. So he commented on that and said, quote, massive L for Ethereum, scale the L1, end quote. So this is, of course, what he could have known would be a good idea if he had listened to the BCH podcast anytime in the last 3 years. And I have actually directly brought this to his attention, for which he arrogantly dismissed me. And then on this one, I kind of got him back and said, oh, hey, how's this looking in hindsight there, David? And he didn't reply to that. Might not have even seen it. I don't know. But as my clout goes, eventually I'll be able to get so far in his face that he's not going to be able to ignore it. And the receipts are all there. But this is really just to get to the bottom of what we've been saying on the show a bunch is being vindicated. You know, the ETH community has fractured into all these different L2s, which are now all VC backed. So they're kind of looking out for themselves. The layer one scaling technology, which was already handicapped to begin with the EVM model, has now become increasingly devalued. And at DevCon that we talked about recently, Justin Drake's has been another ETH guy that I have been heavily critical of, has been out there talking about his 5-year plan to do something called the Beam chain. Firstly, he needs to get some marketing advice because they already have the Beacon chain and now they have the Beam chain, and those things are nearly impossible to distinguish even lexicographically. So it's terrible marketing. But anyway, he wants to do this new 5-year revamp of the internals of Ethereum. Now they've just spent 5 or 6 years revamping everything from proof of work to proof of stake, and then afterwards discovered that they're maybe more inflationary than they expected, and the ultrasound money thing isn't working out as well as they wanted. Plus also environmental FUD has basically finished. So they spent all this work to try and avoid environmental FUD, and then in the end of the day, it didn't matter anymore. But he's now planning his new grand 5-year engineering roadmap, which strikes me in contrast to the BCH work as being engineers wanting to engineer rather than delivering the features that end users actually need. And he's got a lot of pushback from that. There was a lot of the ETH community getting upset about the way that their L1 fees are still high, that the devs are chasing off on the purge and the splurge and all that stuff, when they're like, just find a way to scale the L1 and lower our fees, please. And David is clearly at least somewhat on that train. Again, you can look into his content. I'm sure he's got plenty of stuff with Justin Drake talking about all the ins and outs. But I do feel quite vindicated on this. And that's leading into the point that the ETH community are getting a bit panicked by Solana because they spent much of the last, not 2024 so much, but 2022, 2023 of denigrating and dismissing ETH killers, the so-called ETH killers. Every chain was an ETH killer or branded itself that way. And so they kind of made a joke out of anyone saying they're going to kill ETH, who will all inevitably fail. But Solana, one of the ETH killers, has actually become a legitimate threat. And so now the haha ETH killers thing has kind of dried up. as they lose more and more projects who just say ETH has been not working for us, fees are too high, the tech's too complicated, whatever the case may be, there's more action, the excitement, hype, VC money on Solana, and now they're switching onto that, right? So I think this is pretty important for us to also keep a bit of an eye on. The reason I bring it up on this show, not only to add some continuity to this narrative, but also because we're going to see the same thing happen once the BTC guys start to feel panicked about BCH. So this is a little bit of a case study that we can see. Like, by the time David Hoffman is saying we're taking some pretty big L's here and we need to scale to L1, it's kind of a little bit too late, right? He had just spent the last 2 or 3 years laughing about all the terrible ETH killers and how Solana wasn't a threat. And then by the time you realize it is a threat, it already has momentum, and it's kind of a bit late to pivot. Like, you're already bleeding. Things are already switching onto your competitor. And by definition, if your competitor is far enough ahead to justify people migrating against the network effect, they're doing a lot of stuff potentially exponentially better than you are. So I think this is just something that we should keep in mind, because we're going to see it rerun as BCH becomes more and more of a credible threat to BTC in the minds of the BTC community. Cheapy, if you're there, what do you make of all this? Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you, but I don't see you in the mixer. Jeremy, do you see him?
Yeah, I don't know about mixer. What mixer?
Like in your overall view of the different webcams here, can you see?
Yeah. It's all good. Crack on.
Okay, hold on.
We got no sound, right? The
Yep.
the comment. We are live, but you should be able to hear us both.
Okay.
don't know if
No,
they
I
can
just
hear me,
fixed
not
it. Okay, what a rundown. Okay, all right. We're back. We're good to go.
Back?
Yeah. Sorry, everyone. I have
From
no
where
idea.
from where we were at?
From where?
No, well, the video was on, but there was no audio all of a sudden.
From the start.
Someone
Hi,
in the chat will
everyone.
have
I'm
to tell us,
Cheapy.
yeah.
It's great to see you.
This episode is going to end up quite edited in the edited version.
so.
There's going to be a lot of sections just chopped out, memory hold, the behind the scenes banter if you're watching live right now.
You're lucky.
Anyway, crack on. Just go what you were saying about ETH. Just hit me with that, Vitalik and ETH, basically. I think that was about where it stopped.
Yeah, so Vitalik is basically king of the chain, as far as I understand, and leads the foundation, or they do what he thinks is best. I haven't seen any evidence of them working against his wishes. I don't know. I'm not deeply involved, but it's going to be really difficult for people to admit that they've gone down the wrong path and turn around and maybe undo some of the damage that's been done, or reevaluate or pivot or all of those things, right? And for BTC guys as well, their number one thing is number go up, right? So have fun staying poor, number go up. That definitely won't happen forever. I see head shaking. We lost something. We lost Jeremy
I'm
now.
gonna lose my mind.
Okay, are we still live? Who knows? Should I just keep
talking into
talking?
the void?
Hi.
Do we have the recording running? We have the recording running, right? So we can just edit it all
Jeremy's
together
back.
afterwards anyway.
Now
Sorry,
you're
what was
back.
the last of that, Jeremy? We could always what?
We've got the recording, right? So we can just kind of crack on, and the live viewers, tough to be them, right?
Yeah. I'm also gonna try one more thing, Cheapy. I'm gonna request that your cam specifically records local, and then if, fingers crossed, if anything drops out, you can send me your video and I can paste it all back in a way that makes sense in the edit.
Yeah, hopefully there's a copy of the stuff pre-crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got it. We've got a copy. We've got a copy.
right.
Don't worry.
Your computer, you said if you open up other tabs, it'll probably start kind of chugging.
I don't know. Let's find out.
Here, no, I'll just do this. I'll just record your cam specifically locally, and we'll see what happens.
All right.
We'll save this to podcast episode. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Save.
Technical difficulties are amazing every time.
It's all good. We already had the dramatic reading for the live stream. Well, this is kind of a good point that it would be good to actually chat about on air. So maybe we shouldn't do that. I saw somebody say earlier, Cheap Lightning, could you use a duck instead of a cat? They don't trust cats, so they feel like a duck would be more appropriate for them. Would you consider anamorphing?
having it anamorphing? Well, I mean, I am on a spaceship in the future, so I may come across some technology that allows me to do that. I also may come across a time machine, so I could go back in time and have duck parents instead of cat parents, maybe. I'm not sure, but unfortunately my face is my face, so I can't just, I mean, I can pretend to be a duck. I can say quack if that helps, but I can't change my face any more than you can, so no, it's not gonna happen.
Big V, shout out to Big V, good to see you, mate, says Cheapy will do a fundme.cash demo at the Tokyo meetup this week and send you some well-earned BCH. So sounds like you've got some more support there. Amazing. All right, well, if we just do the next we kind of got to get through this because I got to do base poker in a little bit. All right. And then at the end, we'll just record a little segment that we'll put at the start being like, guys, it was a bit chubby. Okay. So meme of the week is kind of related to this same theme that I was hitting on there. It's from Paco VM, who was recently on the show. Shout out to him with a bit of a quality shit post, I think you could call it. So he said, quote, "Shillfluencers going bust, Tether FUD, Quantum FUD, Bitcoin captured FUD, finance tards calling us bros, etc. It's amazing how fucking back we are," end quote. And I like this because it's like any good joke, it's touching on a seed of reality, right? All the different people coming in to say BTC is screwed, it's hijacked, Roger on Carlson. For the BTC community, that's tough because on one hand, they want to dismiss it, but on the other hand, you can't kind of ignore reality forever. But at the same time, Bitcoin has always been fudded and all kinds of noise is created around it. Same as in BCH, BTC, doesn't matter, or really any crypto, you have all kinds of doubters and haters constantly saying that you're screwing up, yet the projects carry on despite their criticisms, right? So this is where I think, like we were just talking about, whether it's for the ETH community battling Solana or the BTC community battling us, they can kind of get in this position of, once you've got momentum, you sort of want to keep going with it, even if there's doubters and critics. You don't react that quickly, because most of the time the doubters and critics are wrong, which does quite a good job of camouflaging the times when they're right. Essentially, it makes it hard to pick them apart. What do you think?
Sorry, again,
Sorry.
I'm just trying to figure out all the, why this happened so it doesn't happen again.
I
Can
don't
you
know if you
just
can
repeat the question?
Yeah, so between the fact that most of the time the detractors are wrong, especially in crypto, and you're fighting this uphill battle against the fact that they're going to just FUD you no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing right or wrong. And most of the time you've just got to stick to your game plan. But then that camouflages the cases where maybe the critics are kind of right and you don't listen to them as much as you should, whether it's ETH fighting off Solana or the BTC guys listening to us complaining about the hijacking. What do you make of that dynamic?
Well, I think it's probably one of those checks and balances things. Like, you need both sides to make sure that you don't have a bunch of yes men, but you also don't have just perpetual doomerism. Probably good.
Yeah. Cheapy, any thoughts on
that. I missed most of it, so can you hear me? I don't know what's happening. Mom, help. Yeah, I agree with Jet. You need both sides. So obviously, if it's yes, we're infallible, we can do no wrong, everything's amazing, everything's wonderful, and there's no opposing opinion, then you're gonna fall down a hole of mistakes, because nobody's there to check and make sure you're headed in the right direction. But yes, on the other side, as someone who spends a lot of time in BCH price chat, there's just so much doom, right? BCH hasn't gone up as much as the other stuff, and BCH is broken, and it's never going to be good. And it's like you're I don't know. It doesn't help anything either, right? So, as with all things, happy medium, right? You don't. I don't know. I think yes men are incredibly dangerous, especially when you're someone with influence or with power. Nobody wants to contradict you because they don't want to lose their job or funding or whatever, and so they tell you that you're doing something amazing when you're not, and then your project dies or gets off track. Yeah, it's a happy medium. There we go.
Yeah, I think it's worth us just trying to be self-aware of that, essentially.
For sure.
Because it's important, to when you see it in other ecosystems, we got to try and keep that in mind for the times that we're getting criticized. Be fair to the critics. They're usually wrong, but sometimes they're right, and it's very important to listen to them carefully and be sure that you're not missing the 10 or 20% of times that they're right, because if you can navigate those situations correctly, you're basically unstoppable. Okay, two other bits of quick news that have been trending in the discussion. Quantum computing has become a bit on the agenda for both the BCH and BTC communities. One of the things that we're on the same side about, essentially, if they can find out some fixes or some ways to resolve quantum computing or research on how that's coming along or so on, then we can obviously benefit from that. But of course, it's always better to be prepared in advance, is essentially what it looks like. I've seen people saying, oh, don't worry, quantum computing is ages away, it won't be an issue at all, we've got plenty of time. And then other people saying, yeah, by 2030 we kind of want to have our act together. And I tend to lean on the side of the latter, because it's like the same with AI, the same with anything. People say, oh no, it's 20 years away, it's been 20 years away for 20 years, etc. But then 1 year, suddenly it's on the agenda and it's all happening. These things are exponential. So I think it's better that we be prepared than not. So I think it's we'll talk about it more over the coming weeks, maybe I'll have to find somebody who's an expert on this that we can bring in to talk about it. But do you have any thoughts on quantum resistance for Bitcoin Cash?
My understanding is that it's not directly applicable to SHA-256. So there's other areas that may be in greater danger, but as far as I understand, like parallelization doesn't help so much. Again, I'm not a computer science expert or anything like that, so I'm not the best person to ask. I'm not entirely worried about it. I did see somebody reply to one of Jason's tweets today, which is like, any fix that the Bcashers make, we can just add to BTC and we'll be fine. And it's like, no, not necessarily. I mean, that's on a, yes. I mean, technically, yes. Anything that we create could be ported over to BTC, right? But it's not just copy paste, right? There's a lot of groundwork that goes in underlying all of these things, which BTC would have to include, right? Who knows what opcodes and limits and whatever would need to be changed, or an entirely new algorithm. But that also doesn't even matter, because you also have to get to the point where hard forking is okay. Like whatever massive change would be necessary to counter quantum computing is going to require a hard fork. And if you open those floodgates, since we're hard forking anyway, we should add opcat. We should add, all these, since we're hard forking, the floodgates will open. And then, two things will happen, or one of two things will happen. One, people will campaign hard for their pet project to be included in whatever hard fork, including a block size increase or whatever. There'll be massive debate. Or Core will put their foot down and they'll say, no, we're forking in a new algorithm or whatever only. That's the one thing that we're changing. And then that'll show the rest of the BTC community that no matter what technology you make, they're not going to pay attention to it. You're never going to have a day in the sun. Your contributions are meaningless. You're spinning your wheels. You're wasting your life. So we're in a much, much, much better position to deal with any future quantum issues. Obviously, it's something we're going to have to think about and look at. I don't think it's a problem for next month. But even if it happened next year, I think our developers are fantastic and we're not scared of hard fork. So we could power through something really quickly. And then, BCHN and the other node teams, they add op quantum or whatever it is that needs to happen, gets done, lickety split, and then we fire off emails to all the miners and whatever. And hey guys, we're doing this major upgrade. And then there will be some bumps as far as like people not upgrading in time and people being forked off the network, et cetera. And maybe some people will even say, no, we want to keep Bitcoin Cash Classic. That's not quantum proof and run some minority fork, and that's up to them. But I think we'll be fine, absolutely fine. I'm not worried at all.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of really important points embedded in that. Firstly is that I'm confident we can copy any good solution that BTC comes up with, but I'm extremely unconfident that they can copy any good solution that we come up with, because either technically or socially it's going to be a problem for them. And then also with the VM limits stuff and the big int stuff, I believe there's also going to be the ability to start experimenting with and creating those quantum resistant things, even just on a small scale ahead of time, right? It's better to be, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail, right? So it's not just going to be some last minute, holy crap, we need to get this solved. It'll be more like, we've been experimenting with these different things. People have put pools of 10 BCH into all these different solutions, and we've figured out, that this is the best one and we're going to do. And I think, anybody who thinks, we'll just be able to copy that on BTC, no. No, you won't. Who knows, what kind of prerequisites and how many years of work and thinking is going to have gone into it, much aside from the execution risk of not being able to push through a fork. And like you said, it's also going to create a huge disruption with everybody who felt like their thing was in line to be the next upgrade or the next whatever. I mean, maybe they can kind of get to a point where they say, okay, everyone has consensus, we need to do quantum, otherwise the whole chain's wrecked. But I wouldn't be betting too heavily on it, because maybe it just comes down to, you've been working on your pet project for years and years, and nobody cares, basically. Just the way they all go to the graveyard of irrelevance, given long enough for everyone to move on to the next technological boondoggle, basically. Okay, we've got also one other thing I wanted to quickly mention. Nano GPT, we had Milan on the show just a couple episodes, released their payment stats, so shout out to him for following through and delivering on that. BCH came in third for the number of transactions after Nano, which was the biggest by far because it's a Nano-based service, and then Monero also had quite a large share, and we came in fourth by volume with 7%, because BTC with 6% actually, and BTC came in with 7% on volume. So even if people were not making small transactions, you know, a couple of whales obviously put a bunch of BTC into this service. I don't know. I guess some people must be big AI users, because I put in about 10 cents and I could just use it for ages. So I don't know who's sending in, you know, $20 or something like that. You'd have, I guess
it's much more expensive for image generation. And who knows, there might be people who use the role play bots like constantly as a friend, right? Because they don't have any friends, and so they're like, I'm going to make my friend and I'm going to talk to it all day, and that's nice. They have that option. So
yeah, fair enough. Well, maybe that's what it is. I did try doing some image generating on it. I didn't have the best luck, to be honest, or I couldn't make it. I've used other image services that I liked more than the ones they had available on Nano GPT, but I did enjoy trying it out, and I do think it's a great service. And big shout out to Milan for delivering these stats. It will be interesting to see over time. Perhaps we'll be seeing a rising amount of BCH as our DeFi stuff gains traction. Maybe we won't. Maybe it will be related to what services they try to promote and discuss with more. I don't know. We'll just wait and see. OpenAI 01 is expensive, says the cap is 83. So there you go. That might be it. And also notes the Beam chain on Ethereum will be quantum secure. So that I can kind of see, right? I can kind of see the idea of, okay, we're going to do an upgrade to ETH to add quantum resistance. I'm on board with that. But from what I understood, Justin Drake's 5-year plan wasn't just that. It had a load of other stuff going in that I was not like. The more ingredients you have in the soup, the longer it's going to take to cook, basically. It wasn't just like, guys, this is quantum resistance. It was a million other things as well. So anyway, we'll see how that plays out. Right, we're running out of time, so we're getting to our final or second last slide here. Message to the community as a regular on the show. Oh, yep. Okay.
I still exist.
The voice from the void.
Meow.
Okay.
I feel myself refreshed.
Yes. Okay,
like a computer game, Diablo. All right, let's crack on. Message to the community. What's it going to be?
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Thank you for listening. Hopefully, due to technical difficulties, you'll get a coherent message out of this stew that we've made tonight. Thank you, everyone who's considered helping me. Big thank you to everyone who's contributed. I said it before. Hopefully, it survived the edit, but. Everyone who's contributed even a small amount, it's a huge vote of confidence. Not everybody has a lot of money, and even your $1 and just saying thank you means a lot to me. Support of an endorsement kind of message is really, really helpful. So thank you. And obviously, check out fundme.cash and contribute if you're able to. Thank you very much.
And 2025, what does the BCH community need to be thinking about for next year, given that it's basically coming to the end of the year, Christmas?
Right.
Big picture thoughts.
Yeah, we now have an amazing foundation. I don't mean the BCHF. I mean, yes. As it came out of my mouth, I was like, wait a minute. Bitcoin Cash has this really solid foundation now that is ready to be built upon. Cash tokens, Cauldron, Cash Token Studio, all of these projects are ready and waiting for you to build your thing. We need more of everything. So there's a lot of novel ways you can use cash tokens. Unfortunately, it's not like EVM, so you can just jump in. You're going to have to study a little bit. But we're ready to rock and roll, and you could be early. So you could be one of the first people who's got something rocking on BCH. We're ready for you, and we're definitely going to help you if you come. So join us.
Brilliant. Okay, all right. So shout out to our FundMe contributors from the last batch, and you could get yourself on this list for the next batch by contributing at least half a BCH at fundme.cash. Okay, contributors: Majamali Marcelo, 2024, BCHARG.com, Molecular, Erdogan Talk Economics Writer, BCH Ortis LFG, Cash Stamps, biggest soundboard for BCH we have. Keep up the great job, guys. Peter Wooler, I think that the goal should be and can realistically be everyone simultaneously having on-chain funds. Milton Friedman, Emergent Reason, Stay Grounded, Stay Awesome, P2P Electronic Cash for the World. Yeah, Beer. Try to get Vlad Kostia on one of these next episodes. Would be a great discussion as he's opening up. On that point, he was doing the anything but BCH routine on Twitter again the other night. So I mean, Callisti tried to say to me, oh, he's just like trolling. This is just his way of getting engagement or bringing BCH into the discussion. Mate, that's weak sauce. Like, that's just self-cope. If you're going to support BCH, just come out and say BCH has the answer. Don't make these crappy posts like, oh, what if we had a coin that had all the BCH upgrades, but without mentioning the name? Get out of here. That's bullshit. All right. Big B and the Bitcoin Cash Tokyo gang. Bitcoin Cash Tokyo weekly meetup. Session community, http://bitcoincashTokyo. And Bitcoin Jason, you are, I am, we're all Satoshi. Let's do our part. The donators, thank you to all of you. Patrons, Ricky and HP. Our sponsors, General Protocols. Check out BCHbull.com. Start Guide FAQ and links are at bitcoincashpodcast.com. If you're new to listen to episode 85, try Celine at celine.cash. And our outro music for today comes from John Galt, who made Cascading Freedom, A World United, has been experimenting, I assume, with AI tools. This sounds like more AI created than, recorded in a studio, but a new symphonic metal anthem celebrating freedom, unity, and Bitcoin Cash. And I enjoyed this one. So let's have a listen. All right. Until next time.
Breaking through to show a better way. I send my funds across the globe to anyone in need. It's fast, it's fair, it's always there, a tool for every creed. And I'm proud to use BCH today, where freedom lights the way. That's secure and built to last, the strongest every day. From the seas to the farmlands, to the mountains capped with snow, Bitcoin Cash connects the world and helps our future grow. Whoa. No single force can hold it back. It's built to stand the test. For every trade and every hand, it proves it's still best. For merchants and for dreamers too, it levels every field. A global tool, it's here to rule, a power that will It's not just for the wealthy, it's for the ones in need. It's power for the powerless to help them to succeed. And I'm proud to use BCH today, where freedom lights the way. Fast, secure, and built to last, the strongest every day. From the seas to the farmlands, to the mountains capped with snow. Bitcoin Cash connects the world and helps our future grow. Yes, Bitcoin Cash connects us all and helps our future grow.